Dudu sibiza bonke abakhona bonke ama-Afrika azongena nathi namhlanje. Ngena nathi. Uzoba mnandi njengenjwayelo. I'm just going to welcome all of you that are coming on board. We'll be using, yes, English, because just to go across all the languages. Ribuwa sizokhuluma namhlanje. Sothetha ribuwa sizomba. So now, in other words, we are going to speak the languages of South Africa overboard. And I'm going to just welcome each and every one of you as you are coming on board. What I need to do now, I'm trying to get you something that is, something that can actually bring us to where we're supposed to be, especially in this day. Sweet, take a langa. Grande, Romano. Oh, Casa. Buena Sepuduco. Amante. What's come with me? Babisin bonke. Konumlan, so kulmindawa. I want to greet you all as we are opening up in a different style. What's about the sweet Kala? Just in a while, let's celebrate. We're celebrating our heritage. Heritage is not just a language, it's a drum. And the African drum is a prophetic sound that the creators gave it to Africans. It opens up for the prophetic, for the voice, for direction. You know. Zego princesa, what's what you got going on fun of way? What you got going on fun of calls? Please, come on. Eat me bread. Papa soul, Master Check Ram. So we match the school, but let's put a speaker so now. Yeah, fool. Full of whatever so cool man about man. Jump. Now call. What's I see that take something now. Just a few minutes, 2 to 3. Now can you call? Unomunye la uhleli khona kunamandla zokufikela ngoba mase sibhizishana edrum lena sibusa konke ngoba into esidingayo amandla kaNkulunkulu eSouth Africa. Kodwa lapho sukuma lapho uyise. Hayi bathi basukuma lapho. Isso é escuba desse. Sempre. Boss. Ona lapho senamandla khona lapho khona. Ungathi ngathatha isifiko ngasibeka lapha phambi kwethu ukuthi boss. Ungathi ngathatha isifiko elangena namhlanje la kumnandi khona la kugcwele bonke abantu abazi ukuthi manje sokuhlala sithi vele sithi siyamdumisa uNkulunkulu ngoba simdumisa njalo ngoba wasinikeza wonke lokhu kubizwa ama-culture. uNkulunkulu wasinikeza ngoba yena uhlukene, ukuhlukana kwakhe ukuhlukana kwethu kodwa sihlangene ngebanga lakhe. We are brought together because of him. So now we are divided not because of any, but we are being now meaning made to be different. But our differences are in him because holiness is difference. And now culture is not tradition. Culture is what is given. Tradition becomes a norm that separates others from what others are doing. So we need to absolutely know our culture. There is culture in the heaven, and that culture doesn't separate us from God. Every culture must be connected to God because he is the creator. So now let you be the one that invites your friends, your brothers, your sisters, and all of them that are out there. Now, biblically, you'll hear people now calling out the armor of the spirit. But you know, the armor of the spirit, but in line with the British armor. And it is incorrect because now it can't be only in British armor. Because even in Zulu, there is a shield and we've got a spear. You've got a shield and you've got a weapon which is moreover girded in your loins as the word that is in your heart, in your spirit. Now, in other words, God has uniformed, meaning moreover the interpretation of how we interpret things all over the world. So nonke nikwazi ukungena manje ngithi ngenani nonke nibabize emakhani batshela ukuthi nayi insizwa lana uzwide kalanga nxumalo undwandwe nawe ngiyena sekakhona umkhashwa ngithi ukhona manje yena wasekutungoma yena ukhona manje uNkabanhle ngithi woza Nkosi ayiqedwa wozani nonke sokhuluma izwi. Heritage is not just a language. Heritage is not just more of celebration in South Africa. But the heritage is one of the creations that God has actually given to his people. When God gives a person a land and name, and he gives them also culture and in how they're going to behave. And now some of the things are becoming traditional. Hence, because of tradition, we have separation. And many people are segregated from other cities and other, tradition and all and so forth. So now again, we need to understand culture has nothing to do with our personality. It has everything to do with our spirit, with our soul. So we were drumming because when you play the drum, that drum is actually the indication of his voice. Now the prophetic is in a drum. Ukhuluma kwakhe is in a drum. Everything is in a drum. Now whether you are in the church, whether you are outside of the church, when he speaks through a drum. And whenever he announces through a trumpet. But the drum itself, because you are using on the drum, you are using what? You're using moreover the skins. And the skins. That's why we have become a low-part kind of a continent. And many people don't understand why are they a low-part continent. You are, a low-part continent. You are a low-part continent because you are the sons of Cush. You are the sons of Cush. And now, if you will not know where you're coming from, and sometimes Africans will absolutely begin to try to reinvent Africanism. And now, in reinventing Africanism, they want to excuse themselves from creation. And they will also even want to be even before or become the beginning, before the beginning. And that is of an abomination that can ever be done. No African or Africanism, no other can be able, whether in revolution or in evolution or revolution, that will ever take the stand of him, God Almighty. And now he remains in the throne. That's why as Africans, we need to take our Africanism and give it back to him, the God who is the God of all Africans, the God of all Europeans, the God of everybody. He's the God of humankind. So I am calling out for you right now, as we'll be now dealing with this important subject in this hour, which I believe that it will bring moreover light to many of us in this hour. And I want to tell you that it is a celebration indeed. And you hear, many of you are hearing people talking that now it is a celebration. Moreover, some of them, they're saying they're still broken, they're still hurt, they are not yet healed. There are so many things that are happening. They're calling it a heritage of trauma. But I want to tell you something. Now, you need to understand that heritage cannot be subjected to a certain time. You as a generation in the now must make a decision to renew your vows and begin to continue what God has begun. Siqhubeke njalo sishaye njalo kubonakala njalo ngizwa ngathi ngavele ngishaye now ngiyazi kunomfana omsuthu okhona lana kunomzulu kunomfana okhona lana omXhosa womvenda wechivenda bakhona abafana laba abatsonga bakhona lana abusoshangani bakhona abafana bakaZwide bakhona bonke amanguni akhona ngiyababona ngala abomSwati bakhona abafana bamaNdebele bakhona amakhosonke ngithi wozani bonke nibatshela ukuthi manje sesigene endabeni ngoba sokhuluma indaba and masisiqeda ngalomlando sabe sisiqede ngawo ukuthi wazi ukuthi uhleli lapho uhlezi khona and wafika kanjani and wayizwani now so Itatamat, just in less than 1 minute I want to remind you that Africa is connected to drum because of a sound and of the nature that they've been actually given, the richness, the wealth that has been granted. So the African drum becomes the voice. It's like a voice in the wilderness. If you are a person of the spirit, so these are now called putting tea. My song is free. What's I see Catalyst just in a few minutes, wherever you are. Celebration Africa. Some to me saying much. Some. It's a celebration that I need us to encounter. Come on. Forget what you don't be connected to Riga and how things went about in the 19s or 1800s. Ngifuna wena usiqale into yakho ezothi namhlanje ngiyaqhubeka and we are taking this culture back to God. Now it says I can feel that love there out there. heart, and I'm so excited and blessed that we will be moreover bringing the best of this telecast in this hour. And I want to thank God for this moment. I want to thank Him for this wonderful time. Now, I want to say to all of you, this is the day. It is how we should celebrate it, and moreover celebrate with joy, because we understood that, as I said, that heritage has nothing to do only with language, whether you are different languages and so on. It is to do with your soul. It is to do, moreover, with your spirit. Now, it is the spirit that of inheritance that God has imparted upon each and every one of you. Now, even when you felt like you were born in a society that doesn't embrace your heritage, that doesn't divide you, or that doesn't have to be a segregation. You can learn going forward of who you are. One of the things that I found in my life that muchly meaning sustained much grace and power, and moreover of the stance of the person I am in whatever that I do, is that to know who am I. And I got to know the person I am. Thank God I got to know myself in Him. And once you know yourself in God, then culture is no longer a problem. Once you know yourself in God, then, I mean, moreover would say, what we call tradition will no longer be subjectivity. So it's very much important for us to know. But now, in this hour, I have a very interesting topic that I need us to actually now take on and deliberate on, so we can bring knowledge to our people. It's very much important, especially in the times that we are living in, muchly important that we bring light in terms of the knowledge and extrapolate, moreover, dealing with the history, because the only way to understand your heritage, it is through history. And now, one would say, would it be the history we learn, or it is the history that is hidden? Both. It is the history that we learn that people have presented to us, even in the universities, or it is the history that our parents have given to us, or it is the history that is muchly hidden, which is not yet been given to the people. Or is it the history that we hear from God? And now I want to say this now, primarily, above all, the histories that we can ever have, the primary and moreover the fundamental history that each and everyone needs to be acquainted with, it is the history that is biblical, that which is godly. It is a history that aligns actually beyond the Bible, that aligns ourselves beyond the scriptures. It aligns ourselves, I mean, connected with the Creator in spirit, beyond the walls of the church, beyond the, I mean, the royal house, beyond the royal authority, beyond. You see now, because the problem is, whenever we learn out of certain confinements, we create out of those confinements. We are the same people that create meaning rigorness, and we create meaning moreover prejudice, because when there is a confinement, then it means you are having a referendum or reference of or inference of. Now, moreover, it is moreover explanatory of the person you are, and you can go, I mean, as far as even your patriarch and your matriarchal can actually have ever went. You will never go beyond even before their lives. So now we are calling forth for people to go now beyond humankind and beyond the walls of the church, beyond Ilala, beyond we need to go beyond the walls, beyond the organization, beyond the organs, beyond the organized things, and get to understand Him as beginning. Once you get to beginning, then we will understand Him as Bereshith. Now they will tell you that when He is Bereshith, then He is beginning. Whether church, whether kingdom, any other kingdom, whether nations or countries, He becomes what we call a beginning. That's very much period. So I'm just welcoming you, because I know that I'm talking to people of diversity, wherever you are, you have it in your heart to say, if you knew Zwite Langa, if you only knew where I am, sometimes I don't even know who I am. I said to you, once you have known yourself in God, you have known yourself in totality, then he will reveal the person you are. So you need to just actually open out and allow him to bring that revelation thereof. Now, I need us to now be attentive, because it's going to be like it's teaching. But moreover, this is very important to our generation. I am opening up to this talk because it's very much important. Now our mainstream media might not take what I'm telling you now, what I'm giving you now, but what we have to do it by any means of channel, and make sure that African people, black and white, and I mean, it doesn't take it to be African because of your color. It takes your heart, your soul, your spirit. So it's very much important to actually adhere and remember that. Now, we'll be talking Land Act of 1913. Now, why do we begin at 1913? Because anything before 1913 is crime. And it has to be known, and the truth must be spoken, whether you are white, you are Afrikaner, you are Zulu, you are Xhosa. Anything that was taken from the people of the land, even prior 1913, is crime. It is a criminal liability, so we don't even have to go to court for such. We need just to, have people who will agree in that, process of restitution, and say we agree that it was not, moreover, I would say, of justice, that even our forefathers should be granted a mirror, or even a Bible. Or you see, now one would argue and say, Bible, we got it, the biggest thing ever in our lives. Yes, we could actually agree that there are things that which I believe that were brought in, by our brothers. They came with beautiful things. The Bible was one of them. Unfortunately, it was used, theocratically, it was used, moreover, in a very oppressive way for degradation and regression. Hence, you see most Africans, they feel like, why should I go to church? No. Let me tell you this. Now, nobody, I told you that beyond the Bible, beyond the scripture, who wrote it, the writer, authors, beyond the revelation and all that, there is who we call beginning. And even if everybody can mess up, even if they can mess up from the likes of Adam, and mess up from the likes of Cush and going to his sons Nimrod, even if they can mess up from Canaan to everybody, but I can tell you, even if they can mess up at the level of Israel, Judah, the father of the Jews, and Jacob, the father of Israel, even if there could be a mess up of us, always forgetting where we come from and digressing to worshiping other things and standing and praising other things, even if that is the cause, now he remains the creator. He remains the creator, the force, because now he is the one also having the power of life and death. So now that's why even now the book that you call the old book, which is the Bible, will tell you that now there you will get to understand and learn that, of every creation was actually now of him. So now he is the creator of all things. So now he also has the power of life and death. So now fear the one who can give you life, and him that is able to take life. He places kings and he removes them. He's the one who does it. He has done it for many millions and billions of years, and nobody can ever try to stand by him at the age of 75. Can you imagine? Can you measure 1,075,000? It's a chance take. Can you measure 1,000,000 in 90s? Because sometimes we take chances when we are older, and we're trying to portray our generation to an astray. And whenever you feel like you are 80, I'm old. Yes, but you have never adhered to the call and the truthfulness of the call, that nothing comes before God. Everything that which is culture, tradition, whether you ethnicity, whatever race you are, whatever that you were taught by men on this world, it's secondary. It will never be primary. You can go and tell me about your ancestors. I'll tell you about mine. But I'll tell you, mine who chose to actually take up another dimension of becoming patriarch. And how come they become matriarchal? In a way of saying we adhere the call. You see, now there's a difference of adhering the call and remaining a spirit or a ghost. So we need to deal away with that, because we love our people, we love our parents. That's a myth in Africa. And in Africa, I so called, South Africa or Africa is not struggling. The only struggle South Africa has is the struggle of ethos, and they don't even have the clue what they are talking about. Ethos. You can't have a struggle of ethos. There is a God of gods, which is very primarily. So we can never, ever, if you want to see change and you want to see progress in your life, as much as you are an ancestral person, or you love your ancestors, your persons, and you love them so much. Unfortunately, one of the arguments we have is that so many people, they love their parents when they are dead. When they are past, they love them. They run after them. They go and put things in their graves. They do all sorts of things. But now, if you can go now and look at their parents, they are struggling. They don't even have food to eat. They are not wearing shoes well. So many people are doing such that when things are going worse and moreover their situations are becoming tougher, then they remember their parents. So we cannot hold our parents in ransom by calling them amadlozi while you don't actually take care of them while they are still alive. So we need to learn to take care of our own while they're still alive. Then whether you love your ancestors, it's not up to me. I'm telling you what actually needs to be acknowledged. I'm telling you, whether you want to say, I connect with God, I connect Namadlos, it's up to you. You have a prerogative. You can make your own decision. Nobody has to make a decision for you. But the truth of the matter, especially when it comes to history, must be told. There is no man until today who is 3,000 years of age. Today, who is natural. There's no man who was even over 2,000 years of age who was natural. The only one is the spiritual one, who is the creator of the heaven and earth. So your argument won't have a weight on what I'm telling you. So even if you can call all the scientists and historians and so forth, they will not match what I'm telling you. So him, the creator, the one who begins. I'm not talking about church here. I'm not talking about your church or your ministry. I'm talking about something bigger and further than what you call church. I'm talking about God, who is beyond what you actually have as a doctrine, which you felt it's maybe for you alone. No, I'm talking about a God, or the God of humanity, who will stand for people that you don't even love or like. He will stand and love them, and he will even prosper them while you're watching. I'm talking about a God ongalali, uNkulunkulu onganamthongo. Ngikhuluma ngomadida, ngikhuluma ngekakaraba, ngikhuluma ngengwenyama, ngikhuluma come on, baba botsiba ba Sesotho ba bua ka ena ba re ke magona tsohle, ke ntate modimo matla ohle. So na ngikhuluma ngoNkulunkulu nje ohlele emazulwini, ezulwini okhona namanje usekhona namanje. Ngikhuluma ngoShama, ngikhuluma ngoEl Shaddai, ngikhuluma ngoNkulunkulu okwazi ukuthi noma sowulele wena aza busisa kublesse. Angikhulumi ngoNkulunkulu esesontweni. Ngikhuluma ngoNkulunkulu okwazi ukubhekisa amabona angene enhlizweni zabantu, angene phakathi kwenhliziyo yomkhojojo yetsotsi itshintshe, angene phakathi kwenhliziyo yeprostitute itshintshe, angene phakathi kwenhliziyo yomuntu otshontsha itshintshe. So ngikhuluma ngoNkulunkulu nothando, ngikhuluma ngoNkulunkulu ongapheli, uthando lwakhe lihlezi lijulile njalo. I'm not talking about some organized church, in our church, in our doctrine. No, I'm talking about God Almighty. Now, when God deals with men, now one of the things that we need to know from the book of Genesis, if I have to give reference, because my reference is from his word and it's period from that. I'm a law student. I love history. I go through it, but I refer mostly from what is beyond mankind. Now, I want you to hear this one. Now, we need to know that then his plan, original plan, the creator, was to build his son a house. So it was all about a king and a kingdom. It has ever been about a king and a kingdom. It was about a land and a house. It was about the wealth of the land and the house and his people. Now, this is what he wanted to actually bring before us, before mankind could also have a certain kind of dimensions of knowledge of good and evil. And we all know that what will that produce thereafter. If God is the one who controls evil, I tell you, he's a good manager. If you go and check when he dealt with Pharaoh, when he dealt with Pharaoh, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. For what? For him to release the children of Israel. Now, what did God do? He hardened his heart. He put evil in his heart. And Pharaoh was hardened, and he actually ended up releasing them and now letting them go. So when God is the manager of evil, because evil was not about killing, breaking or destroying or robbing. Evil was not about that. It was just a measurement for balance. Now, evil was not for the devil with the fork, no, or with the horn. Evil was all about meaning the balance that the Lord is brought before us on the earth. Hence, he said, now knowledge is of good and of evil. So now it is plus and minus. Those who have done accountancy will support the statement of Uzwite Kalanga. They will say, no, you are saying it, my king, because that's how it is. Now, good and evil. So it's plus and minus. Can you ever imagine if I have to talk today for the next 30 years? Where will I be? My throat will be broken. I'll be so dry. And I might even die, because now die in the flesh, but the spirit will remain. Why? Because you are speaking for 30 years. So now there are certain things that he has made so that there could be a day and there could be night. There's time to work and there's time to rest. Come on. You can go up, but you'll always go down. When you are down, it doesn't mean you'll remain there. You'll always go up. So now this methodology of good and evil, it is the measure of the what you call minimum over the gratitude. It is the measure of gratitude. It is a force that actually now makes you understand that now there is time to speak, but there are times to be quiet. There's time to laugh and there's time to cry. There's time to live, and mostly there's time to die. So now there is positive and there's a negative. So now he has actually created good and evil for balance until let's get to Satan. Lucifer was taken up by pride and because as a man who was swelling out some pearls and so forth. So by pride we lost all of that. But siyabonga ngendodana yahlala ingwenyama, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, who also gave us again isikhumba sakaKhushi, so that we can also wear like moreover a leopard and remain and roar as a nation and as a continent. Now, I'm taking it there because I want to teach a couple of things that are in line with the creation. It's very much important. Creation is better than just a biblical scripture. It is moreover God's abilities and attributes. Now, Land Act of 1913. My daughter. Now, before 1913, it's criminal liability. So they've been trying from even 1797, trying to put things together. However, the transaction of land has taken place. We all know, we all can agree now. But what we need to do to make sure that there is one or two people that stand and say, we agree that now that was actually an injustice. It was a criminal liability. Anybody who comes into your house and takes, it's a criminal liability. It has no color. It has no black or white or color. No, it is criminal liability, period. Now, let me show you now how this was used, especially in our present politics in South Africa. And now, once you get to understand this, you will know nobody will deceive you again. When it comes to whether it's expropriation of land, you will understand exactly how things went about. So now, yes, our brothers, after the land was taken, they came up with the plan on how it is that they can be able to have the land in their hands. And I want to say this, and also looking behind me and checking of all the kings and the chiefs that were there, that it was an amiss what they've done, because meaning it was actually said that land was taken and put in the hands of those who were on supremacy. But now what is hurtful is that now we are coming back to ask, how did land in the hands of other people, not our kings and chiefs and so forth? Now, obviously, I tell you, it matters not whether we had people who could read or write or understand all of those writings, but now they were processes that were taken, which were actually now taken through script, meaning inscription, law. The Roman law was invoked. Now, we need to understand, now when that is being invoked, now upon the land, is that now if I take anything from you, then I make you sign on it and agree on it, then it becomes lawful. It's a white collar kind of a crime, whereby even if you fight in any court of law, you might not win the battle. That's why hence one wanted to keep up to the administration, so that when the administration has been kept, then also the wealth is being kept. Now, I need us to come to this now. So the Land Act of 1930 now became I would say, one of those, acts that when you're dealing with the history, you need to actually outline. And moreover, you need to allow people to have reviews, and so that we can have an overview, because it's very much important. Everyone has his view from where they come from, and we appreciate where you're coming from. Come with it. Whatever that was omitted, every thing that was omitted can be actually be inclusive to what we're talking about. Now, this is the Native Land Act 1913, subsequently renamed Bantu Land Act 1913 and the Black Land Act 1913, Act number 27 of 1913. Now, this was an act of the Parliament of South Africa that was aimed at regulating the acquisition of land according to to Britannica. So now you need to understand Britannica. So we're dealing colony here, and you see it's white, yes, but it is English white. So now I need you to understand what is happening here before you can look at your brothers in the eye. It's English white, but now it is colony, and nobody should support colony. We can't support it anyhow, however it comes. Now, the Native Land Act of 1913 defined less than 1/10 of South Africa as black reserves, and prohibited any purchase or lease of land by black outside the reserves. The law also restricted the terms of tenure under which blacks could live on white-owned farms. Now look at this now. This act now made further provision as to the purchase and moreover the leasing of land by natives and other persons in several parts of the Union, and for other purposes in connection with the ownership and the occupation of land by natives and other persons. Now this is the process. These are the writings, because when you build a white document or a white paper, you are building it upon bills and acts, and now they become law and they become enforced and so forth. So this is what is enforced: open code and code and closed code. Now, open code repealed in this same law of the Land Act 1913 was repealed in 1991, even after a decision was taken in order to come to truce. Now here it goes. It says repealed in 1913. Now the abolishing of racial-based land measures, Act 1991, Act number 108 of 1991, is an act of the Parliament of South Africa which repealed many of the apartheid laws that imposed race-based restrictions on land ownership and land use. Among the laws repealed were the Black Land Act 1913, formerly the Native Land Act, and the Development Trust and Land Act of 1936, which were actually moreover a twin to 1913, that actually was dealing with moreover I would say the reinstatement and the assentment of many acts that were to actually now support the one of 1913, in order to make an assurance that apartheid can be driven eternally. Now something happened here. Now the former president de Klerk in the former in South Africa apartheid regime, then he came on board, yes, and he took up also we know that he took the courts and he had to move forth. Now in his speech now at the opening of the parliament on 1st February 1990, that is after when also the Release Mandela campaign was therefore realized, and in 89, then they knew what they were up to, and something had to be done and changed. And now he came on board, and he absolutely stood for this. Now, the state president then, or former state president, F.W. de Klerk, announced that the Land Act, now hear this one, and Group Areas Act would be repealed. Now, the word repeal means you'll deal away with those, or you will begin to cease, its effectiveness, or moreover, its manifestation to the public. Now, a white paper on the topic was tabled on the 12th March of 1990, and the bill was passed. Now, I want you to be careful on this one. No, not only prayer was prayed, or not even people fasted, or maybe not only that people were fellowshipping, or people were in church clapping, tap, hallelujah, glory to God. No, not even that people were no, not that people were escorted at the royal authority, sitting there dealing with the issues of the Ompagat, but not being part of the bill. Now, that is where we have missed it. And I hear people, whether from the chieftaincy or the kingdom, or even the church, say, politics. Hey, let me tell you, it was politics that took away from you. If you want to change it, you need to know it will be politics, and it must be the right politics, which is a political moreover now contending and connected to God. So it cannot be that you will repeal things in Kulegwe. We will do that, and you can't repeal them as Godway. You will repeal them where? At the very parliament or somewhere, so that the laws that you have in your hearts as kings can be heard. They won't be heard. Look at what is happening here. President declared, therefore, a bill was passed by Parliament on the 5th of June, signed by President de Klerk on 27th June 1990, and came into force on 30 June. Now, the reasons that the white minority government repealed what had been its key legislation. Now, the 1913 and combined with 1936 and combined with 1970 of the Agricultural Act or Land Act to 1971 of the Property Law, that to it, you must know, those were much of the important legislation. That was the legislation that actually now gave them the power to continue becoming the landlords of this beautiful republic. Now here it goes. It says they repealed what had been its key legislation, were to respond to the long-standing demands by the activists, the nationalists that I've actually spoke about. Now, to build its legitimacy ahead of the negotiation. So there still has to be a negotiation, and that is why I'm so, moreover, I would say, perplexed. I am perplexed and amazed on how even the current government is moving. That even then we were not even supposed to have a negotiation. There was no need for a negotiation, but we did have a negotiation. And that shows you the spirit of Ubuntu. That shows you the spirit of what? Of the leadership that was there. It matters not the deception and whatever that you can analyze. But I'm just showing you that there was no need for any table to be placed. There was no need for a communion. Supposed to take it, sign it, done. But now it couldn't be well if you don't sit down. But now we sat down then, which was good and great, no matter the amiss. But now you look at it today, they don't want to sit down. They don't want to share case and hear others' wisdoms. You can't build the country alone. They don't want to sit down and talk about this matter so that they can also be educated and be assisted as a community, because the community, the local men and women, are the real government of this republic. Now, they've built up their legitimacy to show that they are ready for transition, moreover, to democracy. Now, to preempt more radical reforms that the democratic state would potentially bring, and even after their negotiations. Now that is period. That's what you must actually understand. So they had to come to negotiations. But what is it that was done? What they did is that before they come to negotiations, they knew that some of the laws were repealed. Yes, the 1913 and the 1936, the 1970, and most of them that were repealed. Development Trust of the Blacks, the Agricultural Land Act, and most of them were repealed. But now The 1971 moreover property law was not repealed. That which hence became part of the section 25 of the Constitution of South Africa. It was not repealed. That was one of the weapons that they had in regard to their economic meaning also advancement. Now, you need to understand this. Now, when you're sitting down in your house, sometimes you might even see thieves and call people names and so forth. We were actually beat by a minimum over the understanding of the laws. They've been on it for more than 100 years, even 300 years. But now they managed to master the law in order to enforce and moreover keep up to the wealth even of the land lawfully. I'm going to show you this, which is very much critical. And I believe that CODESA was supposed to actually showcase a kind of an equilibrium, kind of a verdict that would muchly unite, black and white and colored and Indians and everybody that comes to this land. They be united based on the outcome of that meeting, based on the outcome of the negotiations. But the amiss was done. We can't blame anybody. It's okay. It was done by law. So now I'm going to show you something here. And there are so many people, including the current president, who are their DNA is on this constitution. They are the ones who actually have seen it and word by word in agreement. And their DNA is on the very constitution. Hence, they know even how to work it out, manipulate it, and that. So we don't want such. We want a constitution that works. Now, I used to hear people saying, the constitution of South Africa is the best in the world. And I said, wow, nobody sees what we see. Is it the best in the world in what? In being manipulative, or is it the best in the world in being constructive? Because if there's no construction in regard to its people, what best are we talking about? Is best for what? For international investors, or what is it best about? So we can't talk best when local men and women are excluded. Now, if that is to the exclusion of the local man and the local woman, there's no way we can announce best. There's no way we can talk about best and then in contrary to what we are talking about. Now, I want us to look at this now. Now, a property law that was established, Section 25 of the Constitution of South Africa, that you will see. It says, therefore, and in bracket number 1, I open quote, no one may be deprived of property except in terms of law of general application. If you know the law of general application, oh, you'll cry tears. And no law may permit now also arbitrary deprivation of property, of property. Property may be expropriated only. Now, I want you to underline the only. In terms of law. I mean, moreover, only in terms of what? Law of general what? Application. For a public, for example, for a what? A public purpose or in a public interest. Did you hear that? Public purpose and in public interest. Now, what does it mean there? Now, public purpose and interest, it aligns you to national because it has to align with the government, the current administrator who would be able to take certain spaces and now they become of the municipal and so forth. And now look at this now for public interest. Now not individual. I want to come to that. Now, and subject to compensation. That one is period. Subject to what? Compensation is in the law, is in the Concord, is at the apex, the Constitutional Court. They've got it in just right on their doorpost. What does it say? Subject to compensation. The amount of which and the time and the manner of payment of which have either being agreed to by those affected or decided or approved by the court. I mean, the amount of compensation on pointer number 3 and the time manner of payment must be just and equitable, reflecting an equitable balance between the public interest and the interests of those affected and having regard to all relevant circumstances, including. Now, it says include the current use of property, the history of the acquisition, the use of property, the market value of the property. So if the property was bought for 1 rand, then today it's equivalent to 1 billion. then you must actually have 1 billion from Alexander to buy the property. Now I'm going to bring it down to you now. Now, the extent of direct state investment and subsidies in the acquisition and beneficial capital improvement of the property. Now, the purpose of the expropriation for the public interest includes the what? Nation's commitment to land reform, yes, and 2, reforms to bring about equitable access to all South Africa's natural resources. Now, property is not limited to land. You must understand that. Property is the intellectual property, you know, all those things that we put there. Acts are also part of the intellectual property, because these are the laws that were brought together by people. I mean, we don't say because the law has been brought together by a particular person, it is good. No, we are saying now it was bring together, yes, and we are bound by the same law, but it doesn't mean it was good. It might have been a law that imposes degradation and regression on the very land, on the republic. Now, I want to go back to, at the top there, so that as I'm running now, because I want to give it to you all, is to understand now that the expropriation only happens subject to what? To compensation. Now, hence, we've been struggling for many years today. Political parties are actually now trying their level best to fight what is constitutional, especially in the parliament, and some they're using it moreover as their manifesto. Some political parties are rising up, land becomes the thing, and which is the truth. They're standing for the truth. But the problem that we have here is the black and white, meaning white paper that we have before us, that actually now becomes a problem. So why? Because people are hopeful. And some they think that we're gonna get the land. But now let me tell you, now it says it goes with compensation. So now, in other words, now it actually now it moves the land from being public to becoming private. Now, private property is, we all know, nobody gets in your house and get away with it. Nobody comes into your yard and get away with it. Anybody who comes into your yard, they are at your mercy. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Even when you're a preacher, you know what I'm talking about. If anyone will come into your house and try to become whatever they want to become, they are at your mercy, preacher. They are at your mercy, bishop. We cannot actually tell whether you're a doctor, whether you are a sweet person. But if anybody comes to your house, whether you are short, whether you are tall, if anybody comes in your house at your mercy, I tell you, you would see there's going to be what? A repercussion. Why? Because nobody comes in anyone's property which is private and take it over. Now, that's what we are facing today. That's why most political leaders will absolutely end up into so many kind of legal disputes and legalities and so forth, be taken to courts, and they're going to go through those courts for many years. Let me tell you why. Because it's very much important to understand that there were laws and there were acts, I would say, that were forced, that were enforced, that were closed. Even when we transition in the democratic dispensation, there was so many agreements that were there. As I said, including the present president was part of that his DNA is on this. He can explain it even much better to say this is how we came up to a decision, meaning throughout the negotiation. So now this must be understood, subject to what? Compensation. Now, obviously, through a rhetoric appeal, you might win people that don't know when we talk about land expropriation with no compensation. So it might not be the case, because this is the constitution. Unless if you go and bind, we couldn't even bind the constitution a little when it came to the former president. We were supposed to do that, but we couldn't do it. We couldn't bind, even when his health is not good, the constitution is just meaning hammering. The verdicts are coming out and so forth. But we couldn't also bind the constitution when it had to come to the local government elections. Really, who is ready in a month? Nobody is. They know it. We know it. Then the reason why we had the deputy, Chief Justice, Seneca, to come on board and really try to help for the past 3 months, and nothing came about. The Constitutional Court, the Apex Court, just gave you verdict as it was. And I'll tell you, all the parties who were absolutely frustrated, and some were given an opportunity, and some who actually thought maybe it's done. We are going through with this, and and there was a change. And why? It is the Constitution that we all have upheld to say this is the law. The rule of law of this nation. It's very much important to realize that. So now, what will change for no compensation? What will change? You see, the fight, what I want to show you is that the fight of the land, we are fighting it politically with our rhetorical appeals, and however, that's not how it should be. The fight is calling now for the chiefs, the landlords, the kings. Now I'm going to show you. The 1913 Act doesn't involve a politician. It involves a king. I'm going to be playing with you. Yes, you can talk about the down spiral kind of moral of the kingdoms and how they treat this, how they treat that. You can come up with all of that. We know how to come up with down spirals of institutions like the royal authority or maybe the church. It's okay. Everybody has his own down spiral. You are not the only one who, sometimes when people are in the position of power, you hear a person sitting there, even a judge, trying to judge another. And the same judge, you go to ask his wife or her wife, you will know that now this woman or this man is not even good as he looks there in that court of law. So don't try to come up here with your trying to be saint and all that. We need to understand that now it's very much important that even when the royal houses were not in a position to come on board and hold hands with Mandela in 1991 when he called them, then in those years, and then to say let's come into communion before the elections 93, and some of them, we know what they declared. We know some, they said we can't be in a conjunction or in a partnership or in an agreement with the bandit. They spoke so many things. Kings and chiefs that were all over South Africa, they declared as many as they could. Now, one thing happened is that the king in the Zululand and the king in KZN, he actually now, we know what happened before the elections. We nearly couldn't even have the elections because of that. And some of the things were done, land was given. All of those things were released. They released land that which is not even belonging to the kingdom of the Zulu, of the Zulu kingdom, which is a land that belongs to other kings and other people that will rise and begin to talk about these matters. So we need, and once we rise and talk about them, this is how you actually allow a uniform or kind of a synergy where you allow people to talk. Unless, if that won't be the case, the Zulu kingdom will be in a dire kind of a division for many years to come, because there's no way that we can actually now allow a monarchical kind of an operation even in the nation. We need to allow all the kings to come and chiefs and all the royal authorities to talk. But why are you shutting them down? Why are you quieting them? Don't quiet them. Allow them to talk. They are the people here. That's why people think Zulus are bosses. No, we are not. Actually, we are not Zulus. We are Siamanguni, because we are the Gunis. Where we're having now a mind to unite the nation. Now, Siamanguni, which also allows and permits a Xhosa woman to become a Nguni, my family. A Swati to become a Nguni, my family, and Debel. So Samanguni, all of us. However, there could be those sectional ethnicity or kind of demarcation that is actually taking place, which is okay. But we need to go back to the truth. And the truth is this that I'm telling you now. Now I want to run with this to say, expropriation with no compensation is just a dream that has been put before people, maybe for votes and other things, but the issue of land is an issue. And I want to applaud even all those political parties that are dealing on land. But you need to deal on land in a different way. Hence, my duty in the political spectrum is to deal with land. And now my talk is not even expropriation. I don't talk expropriation. Let's expropriate land with or without. No, it's land restitution. Now, I'm taking land even beyond the 1913. It's a crime. It was stolen. The question would be, how did you acquire such a land in a place or in a republic that you know nothing about? You just landed. So it's crime. So now we don't have to talk a lot. We just have to go to the court of law and let the court give a verdict of this crime that was actually underwent before 1930, from the 1600s, going up there to 1797, and all those criminal abilities that were actually packed and be brought together when they were actually trying to make an assurance that they take away even from the king. So land had nothing to do with politics or with politicians. It had everything to do with what? With chiefs, with kings and queens and chiefs and princes and princesses. It is important that we go back to that. So that's why this day of heritage must bring a remembrance to all royal houses to come back to their own senses and get to understand that if they are not going to be part of this move, especially political in this country, even if they can do their things as a kingdom, but get to participate, understand, even people encourage them to go and vote. And at this time, we are not just going to vote. We are voting for this, we are voting for that, we are voting for that. And now we need to look at it that way, especially in regard to representation. We can't mess up again. The land has to do with the kings. So hence I'm bringing you on board to say, when you make a decision in this season, you must make a decisive decision that says it's informed, that absolutely puts you in a position to make a decision that will change the circumstance, whatever calamity that we are facing. So gibiza bonke amakhosi bonke abakhona ngizwabe hlubi bathi noya if anisnigi owethu, we are not voting. Abahlubi baphuma kuthina, they are coming out from Sweden. These are the sons that are coming from Uzwide, Kalanga, Umumana, Undwandwe, Umkhashwa, Unkabandle, wena waseBuduko, Inkosi ayiqedwa. So now in other words, they are coming from there. So now they are coming out. So they say, if you are not going to give them that of them which belongs to them, no vote. Now I'm saying, which is very much important, and if you are not to make the right decision in the season and come 2024, I tell you, blame nobody but yourselves, because now the fight for land has nothing to do with what the parliament must say or do. It is about the court. It's a criminal liability. Before 1913, the land affairs, where the department was actually now being affected, so that it can take care of the land that belongs to these kings. And afterwards, they were told that they will get their land. They never got it. Some of them, they went to World War, and some those they came back and they're still alive. They were still alive and they were not even given the land. In 1939, they went to World War II. They came back. They were only given bicycles. They could not even get anything. They got their numbers, which are particularly in line with the land that they were supposed to get. But they never got. They got only a bicycle. Now, I want us to make sure that we understand what we're talking about. Land was taken. Land is not about just settlement. It is more about wealth. It's about agriculture. It's about multiple of things, because land is the only property that is connected to God, that gives you two businesses. That, moreover, I would say, land gives you two businesses that produces all the business that you can ever have in the world. So now they knew, and everybody knows now, the power of one having land. If one person in South Africa can own a land, whether even not just land on top, even land underneath or beneath, which they will get all the rights. If there are minerals and so forth, they will also be part of that. So not land on top. We don't want land for RDPs, you hear me? We don't just want land for squatter camps, you hear me? We're not going back to now building another Alexandra. We are not going to begin to talk about land and expropriate it without and let people squatter. While they are squattering there, they don't have systems. They don't have toilet systems. Tomorrow we complain when our children begin to fall in dungeons and ditches. We don't actually remember that we've got politicians that are actually now firing up this thing. We can't keep on doing that. We don't want another Alexander. Our brothers and sisters are living at Riga. Even when they were supposed to say who, we thank God now there's going to be change. Their billion was actually being tempered by by the corrupt, and now they cannot have a better infrastructure, better houses, and so forth. So we're not talking about RDP here. When we talk land, we're not talking about people getting the RDPs, people living in the shack. We want a proper land. A proper land that would be given to the people for various things, whether settlement, whether business, and let it be given to the people accordingly in the measure. Now listen to me here. So you can't give land also if you don't have a minimum over a kind of a relationship with who? With the kings. That's why you can talk about it. You'll never go to KZN and take it. Why? Because you know for sure you can't take it. It's a sure say that land cannot be taken. So now what needs to be done, as I've applauded all the political parties that are dealing with land, I'm applauding them. I'm having them, and I love what they do. I mean, I can call them in their names. The presidents that are dealing with land. I am going to speak like a son of the soil that understands, especially from a kingdom. Now, you have done it well, but now the problem is one. We cannot actually do it in that political style. We need to realize and remember that land was taken from the chiefs. It was not taken in some political house or in Lutuli. No, it was not taken in Lutuli. It was taken from the chiefs, the people who were the administrators of the land. So even when you're trying to restore and you put them aside, you are not going to see land. You are just going to see this feud for many years until most people actually pass. So we need to actually now experience this course of land reform in a proper way, so that at the end of the day, the right people get the land, and everybody in the whole of South Africa enjoys, meaning the wealth of their own land. And we want to see people getting land. Distribution must be made and be made accordingly. Now, if I have the whole year, I'll be sitting here and talking to you about this matter. But I know that even if I have to come back, I'll come back and share. And as we come on the part 2. But now, quickly, I want us to look at this now to make sure that we understand certain other things. Now, a person, for example, here, it says now the state must take this reasonable legislative and other measures, and within its available resources, to foster conditions which enable citizens to gain access to land to an equitable basis. A person or a community whose tenure of land is legally insecure as a result of past racial discriminatory law or practice is entitled, like myself and my family, so to the extent provided by an act of what Parliament, either to tenure which is what legally secure or to comparable redress. Now look at this one, 7. It says, therefore, a person or community dispossessed of property after 19 June 1913, listen to this one, as a result of past racial discriminatory law or practice is entitled. Now that by itself, now 25:7, you go on there in the Constitution, section 25 of the Constitution of South Africa, then you go to 7. Then it says very much clear. Very much clear. It says those, that's why I said those who were actually, their land was taken prior 1913, 19 June. Now, 1913, 19 June, as a result of past racial discriminatory laws or practices, whether through general application, but look, listen to this one. It says they are entitled. You know what does it mean? Is entitled. That's where you find the word title deed. Title deed. So they are what? Entitled by law. So it was criminal liability. Now here, when you fight it beyond 1913, it's something else I'm going to show you. Now it is criminal liability before 1913. That's our land. Umhlaba kaZwide, umhlaba kaMamabolo, umhlaba kaSquat, umhlaba kaBantu. So bonke amakhosi ubehlomekhulu, amakhosi wonke abekhona. Umhlaba wenu before 1913, you are entitled of that land. We begging on some office. We going to offices. We beg. I love the office that I'm working with now. They understand the urgency. We beg, and when you are there, people are political. People are stealing things and so forth. So we cannot wait for that no longer. Now you are entitled before 1913. I want you to hear me very well. That's the order. That's not what we are going to discuss, or maybe in some political rally. No, I don't have time for that. So when I talk about land, I must talk about it accurately and now align with the law so that the people are not deceived. I'm not here to deceive people. I'm not here to try to entice people to vote. I don't want to do that. I want people to know the knowledge. Hence, instead of electioneering, what do? I bring knowledge. Instead of electioneering, come vote for me, come do the no. I don't have time to try to sell a man. I'm selling the truth. To say the truth stands, that anybody whose land was taken, meaning as a result of past racial discriminatory laws or practices, is entitled to the extent, listen to this one, to the extent provided by an act of parliament, either to restitution of that property or to equitable redress. Now, I said I stand for land redistribution, but I stand for land restitution. Land restitution deals with land and law. It doesn't go in line with expropriation. It deals with what? Land and law. The difference of these words, they are not the same. Expropriation. No, expropriation. You need to go and check what expropriation is actually now all about. If you get to understand the meaning of expropriation, you will know, because then you will understand that, wow, what is this? Because when you expropriate, it has nothing to do with you, moreover, meaning restoring what was taken. Because expropriation is merely the action, by the state or an authority, of taking property from its owner for public use. You get what I'm saying? You are taking the property from its owner for public use or benefit. Can you imagine that? You are dispossessing someone's property. Now, before property, there's what you call someone. So it means you are taking away from people. So what does that mean? It means what the act in what we're doing in trying to want to take, let's go and go settle there, and then we have informal settlements, and we don't want a South Africa of that magnitude. We want smart local planning. We want people to have good infrastructure. We want people to have good water system and sewer systems and so forth. We want people to live in good communities where there's moreover, I would say, sports and recreation, art and culture. We want people to have a good living. Now, children must have playgrounds, and we want such. We cannot be squashed in some little farm and where our shacks are, kissing one another by day, and when there is fire, we all are burning. So we can't allow that. And now the zoo is running just next to the door, and now children are there, and they are having mukas out, and those are the pictures that are taken to the West so that people can raise funds. And then you are sitting there, then we call it Africa. No, Africa was not like that. Previous, you need to understand, Africa, yes, we lived in some houses, huts, and so forth, but look at the cleanliness in how we lived. Even how the system was done then, it was even far much better than here now. Because now people could not even know where and how, and they will just ditch out and have a dungeon, and the whole family will go there accordingly, though they had no systems and infrastructures. Now, how can you tell us that Africa is when we are shaking and having some shacks and shaking one to another? And now, when there's fire, everybody just burns. Families are burning. We are losing families in numbers, in 7, 10, 9, 6, 4, 3. Children are burning in those houses. Who's responsible? The leadership is responsible, because they are actually of the idea that the truth will not be known when they are bringing deception to the people. So expropriation by itself is an action by the state or those in authority taking property from the owner. Now I want to show you this. Now, whose owner, or who is an owner that will allow you to take their property? No owner. That's why Oranje and Fresh Start, they are ready. They are ready to fight. It's not a secret. We can see it. They pray a lot these days. In Free State, they pray a lot. I've been there. I was there in Free State. They pray a lot. African brothers and white brothers, they pray a lot. But also, they are ready. I want to tell you, that's the truth. They are ready there. because they have been told that these are property. So even when you get in there, then you are getting in another man's property. You see how it goes? So because now then you are coming, you are expropriating. No, I think you see law, and now the difference between the intelligence in terms of the law is the understanding of the wedding. If we don't understand the wording in law, I'll tell you, we whether advocate or not, if you don't understand the wording in law, you might have actually learned all the acts and you are actually memorized and you understand them well. But if we don't understand the wording and understand it very well, then you would be an amiss. And I tell you, we'll be fighting a fight that we're not supposed to fight. Very simple. When it has been taken, I mean, our grandfathers were there before 1930. Why would you want to expropriate 1913 plus? We're talking before. If it's before, we are entitled. What does it mean? It means we take it to the court. It's criminal liability that this particular land was taken. We are asking the government to take this land back to its people. Simple. Don't have to fight. Don't even have to toy. Just simple practice. And now you allow it to actually begin to be enforced. And when verdict has been given, then we sit there. We all are restoring the land back to even other people so that all of us can have a place to stay. Do you know where black people are staying? Now, let me give you something here which you don't know. Black people are, sometimes they even feel, what did we do so much to God that we live the way we live? What sin have we caused? They are thinking so much because it's like when you're black, you are sinful, something like that. And they start to not like themselves. You wonder why they're in crime. You wonder why they want to kill. They don't like themselves there. How you expect them to love themselves? Because they are treated by everybody like the least, like the scum, like the sham, like the, you see, like a muddy clay. People trample on them like a grass. They do whatever they like. They plan in the West and they come here because people are dark. Then you feel, or you think, you overthink that they are foolish. That's not it. You don't know what a black person goes through. He goes through a house that has, 1,000 holy and squalid, 1,000 holes. A house, a shack with hundreds of holes. When they're sleeping, they can see the sun. They sleep on the floors. Yes, it's fine. But they go through that until they were accustomed of this culture. Of the way of living. They are in there and there are 10 of them. 7 of them are outside. 10 is inside. Can you imagine that? They wash themselves in one bucket or one dish. One in the house. Everybody comes and wash and they go out, they pour, wash, they go out and pour. And then somebody goes in the shower and you just shower out. Oh, you get into your beautiful bathroom. You even run the bath. Huh? You run the bath. Yeah? So nice, né? You run the bath. I'm telling you, they can't even run the bath. How can you run the path while uncle is here, while Malume is here? That's why so many things that are happening, they are happening because there's a congestion. Malume is here, children are here, and they were supposed to be with their mother in their house, and Malume is here and he's frustrated, there's no work, there's crime. It's you see, that setup, it's crime. That setup of a black child, it's crime. And it must be dealt with now. It's crime. So now, if it's criminal, why don't we do something? And we don't have to just sit there and say that it's going to be done. No, until they understand the wording. The wording is simple. That now land was taken before 1913. And now take it back to the kings first and the chiefs. And they will have to now, remember, they were not having land for themselves. These things of their trust was for the people. That every king had to understand that the land also belonged to the people, that they will have the land for distribution to the people. They will have their land, but they will make sure that people have land to build. People have land to what to do business and to grow their families. That's what we're talking about. So now they were the administrators, of the land of the people. Those were the chiefs and the kings, not politicians. The truth be spoken forth. Whether you like it or not, you will hear it, and I tell you, you must submit to the truth. And you are not bigger than history. Now, if history would be today omitted, then history will judge us. We need to talk the truth, and until people understand, and I'll tell you, the decision must be made by you, and so that you make that right decision and get to people to understand that now. Hence, I said Land Act of 1913, because I wanted to bring an alarm to say the very same act that which was repealed. Yeah, it meant nothing much, and the 136 meant nothing much. But before 1913, there was no need of repealing, no need of repellation. But it was actually a cause of someone saying, we have wronged you, we have taken from you, forgive us, here is the land. That's all. Restitution goes with that. But the beauty about land restitution, can I bring it down to you now? The beauty about land restitution, that's what I'm standing for. That's what I'll be standing for until the end, no change. Land restitution goes this way. It speaks of restoration. I'm not taking anybody's land. We are receiving the land that belongs to us. Now, what does it mean? I'm not coming into anybody's property or private property. The land that was taken, it's yours. You know where and how, and you get the land. But now I want to show you something here. When restitution takes place or restoration, it comes in a greater kind and a greater quantity and a greater quality. Now, the three attributes that I need us to learn today is that a greater kind, meaning obviously when you have taken land, you must also, when it comes back, make sure that you don't move from the land. Now, what was happening in the early 2000s when the willing buyer and the willing seller, meaning kind of a operation was taking place on Mbeki's tenure. Now, you need to know here, now this is what is happening. Now, when you give him land or her land or them land, you need to also open and access, because land is on land bank and agricultural land bank. Banks are having the land. Land is not only, you see, people are hating on our white brothers there. You think they've got your land. Let me tell you something you don't even know. Actually, you'll be shocked that land is not even owned by white and Afrikaners. Let me say predominantly, land is not even owned by Afrikaners. Hence, we are calling them minority, and we are even saying that they are this percentage. We are even, I don't want to talk about the percentage where it's 8%. So, but now I'm saying then for the very minority that you're talking about, 30,000 rich, meaning Africans or Afrikaners. But now you forget that there are other Afrikaners that are struggling like we do. They are also facing the same struggle. So land is not in our brothers. When you meet a white woman or man or in town, then you get angry at them. No, you don't waste your time. There's no need to be angry at them. Some of them, they don't even know what you're talking about because they grew up struggling. They grew up like you, walking on the street using their feet, going to school and coming back, eating pap and vors, which I believe that most of you are doing it now, especially today. You thought the day of today is the day of pap and vors. We must know how to actually begin to now farm that pap, that we must do that mini mill. Yeah, we don't just get the pap. Let's know how to get the pap and how to grow the pap and sell the pap. We need to do it now. Farming must begin now. By our people, for our people. So I'm calling on for white farmers and all black farmers. Let's come together. If you want to moreover connect and partner, I'm waiting for you to come and partner, because it is important for us to start that project right now. Not manipulatively. Not as if others are dumb and so. No, we're doing it because we're brothers. We want to see this going forward. And now that is how we can do distribution of land accurately. Very much important. So it's not, land is not only on our African brothers and Afrikaners and so forth. No, land is on people that don't even stay in this nation. So that one is another, a talk for another day. But today, the Land Act, now remember the Land Act also, in however it was being brought together. Just going to close in the next 6 minutes. You would know that the ownership by itself, ownership is it can be described as an abstract, moreover, of legal relation. For example, it's a relationship between the owner and a thing. So someone owns something. He owns a certain thing. You see, it's an entitlement. So now, what does that mean? It means that now, whether we're talking private property or public property or collective property, or corporate property, we all have to know, whether economically or politically, that there is an economy on three many forms of properties that we all are having in our nation. Three of them, which is private, public, and cooperative. And among all of them, there's what? There's an economy. And now that's what we need to actually begin to champion. When you champion that, then people will get to understand who they are. Your surname will tell you where you come from, and then you will know the person you are and connect to the people that are your elders and get to know where you're coming from. Let them tell you where you are staying, and they will tell you. And once they tell you, then you will know that now, oh, I was staying there, our land is there and there, and they will tell you how they were moved there and to this other land and so forth. So you will get to know the people you are. Now, for example, look at what happened to the Khoi and the Khoisan. Now, they have struggled for many years, not being recognized, many years. At least now they were recognized now in 2018, 2019, 2018 in the parliament. If I'm not mistaken, they were recognized until the president brought them in, and then they are king, and they came out there, the Khoisan, and they were so recognized to be also part of being landlords of this republic. Now, it's very much important for you to stand until a time where the truth is known, and until that time, then we will know that meaning the truth shall definitely set the people free. So now, in few minutes, I just want to lay down this to you as we're dealing with land restitution. It's very much important for me to do this. I want you to know that what we are talking about even today would open you up for greatness, to know the person you are. I am provoking you, knowing the person you are. Now, once you know who you are, you will actually begin to track where you come from. You will know where your land is actually situated, and that to it will definitely assist you in what needs to be done. So land, as I said, is for sharecropping, it's for many things, for settlement and for other. So land is connected to two businesses, as I said before. Number one, agriculture. Number two, mining. Now, hence, you see, all of this was done because of the two, agriculture and mining. You can talk about any other business, it's okay. But the only two that were preordained by God, that are original, agriculture and mining. You know why? Because they are the only two that are connected to land. They are connected to the ground. They are connected to the heart of God, and cannot survive without God. You see, ask a farmer, will tell you, and you ask them, will tell you. Here, when our uncle also in the gospel said, I prayed for potatoes, and his faith on the potatoes grew the potatoes. You know what I'm talking about. He stood out there and he grew, and he's doing farming through what? Prayer. That's what we're talking about. That's our uncle. That's the man we're talking about. And he's not black, he's white, he's Africans, but it's okay. We thank God because we've got them, as I said, that heritage, it's no longer what? Your color. Heritage is your heart, it's your soul and your spirit. Now, I want to bring it down here because now, as people of the spirit, if we can't speak the truth, and if you are offended by the truth, it's Matthew 24, then you might find yourself being deceived and there being infections. You are builders of the truth. Even when they are talking about your skin, let's say if someone talks about corruption, but the corruption is black, why will I be offended to say it is corruption? Say it as it is. Don't be offended because it looks black or it looks white. Get on it. Get in the purpose. The question is, who are you for? You must be for the purpose, and you must be for the truth, and you will see the truth shall set the people of the republic, and meaning free. So now, in other words, failure occurred. Yes, we know muchly occurred, even when the negotiations have taken up, because there were so many acts that were raised, even from 1993, 94, We have seen that. 94, we came up with the RDP project, one of the projects which I believe that we need to revisit. And 93, we came with the upgrading of land tenure rights. And 93 also we dealt with the provision of certain land of settlement. And also in 94 we deal with the restitution of what? Of Land Rights Act. But now nothing happened. Now the Green Paper was released in 1997 after the talk of our father Nelson Mandela and FW de Klerk, and they agreed and to say now this has to be done and land must be given to these people, all of those things. But now then people went in 97, they launched it in and for land reform, and it never happened. Some of them they even passed until now. So it's a failed project that needs to be revisited. And now my say would be that land restitution in South Africa is key, because when you restitute, you are restoring land and you are restoring, the skillfulness, because you have been away from the skill. You have not been working on the land. That's why there are people who think if a black man will take on farming, they will fail. No. You don't have to take on farming. You must partner with our white brothers and farmers, Afrikaners, and when you partner, they will actually begin to release the skill on you. And once you get the skill, you won't fail. Who will fail? Who won't fail? Unless you want them to fail. But if you impart the skill to them, because it's the restitution, give them the skill. When they get the land, give them the skill. Mentor them, take them through so that we can make it together. You don't want to give a trap so that they fail. They don't know how the land operates. They don't know how to deal with matters when actually drought or famine to come. They don't know how to deal with the locust that eats your crops. So all of those things now need to be taught, and so that they can have the same heart. Because now a black man loves to go, they can go to store and buy somewhere in a particular shop and buy food and go home and cook. They no longer they no longer actually plant. They no longer have tomatoes in their yards. Hence, even in the season, I am actually raising to say one family, one garden. So my campaign will be one family, one garden. Let the people of this nation be taken back and restored back to their rightful position. Now, so that we can have in front of your houses, have your tomatoes and this and this and this and that. So you don't have to go to the stores. You can have it now right there. So why are we encouraging people to go to the malls? For what? To what? For what? No, you do it in the house. So that's what we need to teach. And now when skill is being given, then we know that we open finance and we open market. That is restitution. Land restitution, and which I believe that now prior 1913, all those whose land was taken because of racial prejudice and discriminatory process, you are entitled for your land. You are entitled either way for the redress. Let it be done through any form of application. Let it be done. Now I'm calling out for you. I don't know your surname, but you know who you are. Go back and ask where you come from. They will tell you. The same land where your grandfathers were, that's the land where you were. And that's the land that you must go to the offices and begin to claim what belongs to you. Land reform is awaiting for people to come on board. Let it be a revolution that will change the whole of South Africa, where black people won't just even blame the land issue, even when they're the one failing. I mean, now you're in government. Why are we failing? We're failing because we even no longer have a heart for people. We no longer have a heart for souls. So I'm speaking restoration over this nation. I'm speaking restitution over the land of this nation, restitution over the loss of this nation. I am declaring right now, like also in the form of a drum enclosure. I am declaring right now to say, from wherever you are watching, from wherever you are listening, I just want to say to all of you, now there's going to be, moreover, I would say, oh, come on, it's going to be some beautiful kind of grace that will come about, that will absolutely release a soothing, moreover, a celebrative kind of a spirit. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, a celebration. Now, wherever you are right now, if you are with me, wherever you are right now, I need you to start celebrating, because something new is coming and something new is beginning, and we are about to enjoy a great deal of life, and we can only do it together through a drum. I'm just trying to measure that with you right now as we're talking, just my PR as they are working on that just for a while, just a minute, and if we can just measure this through a drum, and make sure that we all are connected. And yes, that's what we are looking for, because when we are connected, all of us, then we are able to can push and move. So I'm just going to play the drum, and with this drum, Africa rise, and may God, bless Africa. May the Lord restore, the royal authority in Africa. May the Lord restore you, and also remind you of where you're coming from, and get to love each other as we are praying. Your Buravos and your pap, black and white, we know where we come from. The enemy we're fighting is not skin, it's spirit. And that enemy, we don't want him anymore. And we are not going to sit here and try to close it down and make it nice and so forth. No, we're going to speak it as it is. That enemy we don't want. We want to marry white, black, and we want to have a colorful nation. We want to just love each other beyond, and make sure that we all come to truth and say, God, we have seen the injustices that have happened. Don't be denialists. Once we deny, then we are causing more anger and bitterness. And hence you hear people saying heritage of what? Of trauma. And people are saying that because they are feeling that way. But now we need to move. Someone says, why don't you move forward? Why don't you move forward? You've got the government. No, it's not about the government. It's not about politics. It's about people's lives. So can we do that and make sure that we bring that joy, meaning in our nation? You are a colorful nation. You are a nation of a drum. I hear a drum. I hear a sound. I hear a new voice. I hear a prophecy. I hear God speaking about you, South Africa, Africa. I hear God saying that you are my beloved. I hear the Lord says you are actually now coming out to be the best, and moreover, you'll be the reviver of the whole entire nation. I hear the Lord says now, I see unity coming out. The national unity government is coming forth. Now, people are speaking negative against the nation or Africa in general, but I hear the Lord says there's going to be a uniformity. There's going to be oneness and singleness of hearts. I hear a drum. There is a drum playing at the background there. But I'm hearing now that there's going to be, moreover, a kind of a level of love that has never been there. I hear that now. The truth is now taking us as a vehicle into another level. We are not going to experience another year of trauma or another century, another decade of trauma. We are actually now moving away from the trauma. We need to grow away from trauma. We need to grow out of trauma into a place to rejoice and celebrate this Heritage Day and Heritage Month. Celebrate our diversity. Celebrate our uniformity. Celebrate our differences. Now, yes, it is sweet. When ukhona lapho wena insizwa sekhaya ukhona wena ngumama ukhona lapho ntwana ukhona ukhashwa khona la ukhona. Just understand that now it is important for you to understand the person you are and begin to now allow the drum to beat again. If the drum beats again, it means there is life again. There is a voice again. There is a speech again. He's speaking again to a nation. And the time is come for you to change. Africa, now arise. The glory is come and the glory is now shine on you. You need to make a different decision. The time is here. And in the season right now, when you make a decision as a drum is playing, I hear the Lord says now, your ears are being reformed. Your eyes are being reformed. Your heart has been reformed. Every weight on your shoulder is being replaced with government. Now you are coming out, Africa. You are the hope of the nations. You are actually the hope of the entire globe. Africa, come out. Africa, come forward. Africa, you are the voice. Africa, you are the revival to the nation. Africa, you are which the Lord have spoken to us, upon you. You are the sons of Cush. Africa, you are the minimum over the sons of him that is actually stood. And now Cush by the plain and the jungle. And now he was a man, a hunter. Now the reason why we are wearing all leopards is because Cush was the hunter. Africa, we are not going to come around and try to find whether Jesus is black, whether Adam was dark. That's not the point. The point is what God has done. Cush represent Africa because Eden was moreover located in Africa. So now we need to stand out and begin to claim what actually God has given to us. Africa, you are not a dark continent. Africa, you are not poor. Africa, you are not poor. Africa, you are wealthy of your minerals. Africa, you are wealthy of every mineral that the Lord has actually stored up on the ground. Let us speak the issue of land and resolve it so that every African child can be given the land. and can also become partakers of the wealth of this kingdom. Thank you so much for tuning in, and may you all stay blessed and in celebrative mood. Keep on celebrating. I'm asking you, if you can do this, even on our YouTube, go there on YouTube, just like it, just go in, just press on it, send it to others, let others listen to this and be on this video. Press there, subscribe on it, and keep on writing your views. Let's connect on our next talk with myself, BJ Langa, on Kairos TV. It's his story. None other than Sweetek Kalanga. Oh, Siyabonga. Ningoni. Mangoni. Ningoni. Sabe. Sabe. Sabe.